And here in the top left-hand corner of ESV Ohana, we have our blue Zerg player, the next challenger from Dream Team Gaming. It is NalrA, sporting the tag Sahagu there. And his opponent in the lower right-hand corner from Evil Geniuses, winner of game number 1, our red Zerg player, EG.IdrA.
EG.IdrA. Yes, always a player on the forefront of many fans' minds for various reasons, but ultimately always a fun player to watch, in my opinion. So, curious to see what he's going to do on Ohana. And I agree with what you said before the match, where this map pick is more of a way to get this map away from someone else later on. A lot of times in team leagues, you will see players pick maps that are heavily favored for one race or another just to get them out of the way, you know? Because you might not get a chance to use it yourself, right? So if you use it for a mirror match situation, then you just don't have to worry about it. Ohana, I don't think is like terribly imbalanced for any one race, but I do feel like Protoss is in a pretty good spot on it in PvZ. A lot of people agree with that sentiment too, but it's not a map you would normally pick for ZVZ.
And we'll see what EG.IdrA is going to do to react to this, I suppose I should say. It looks like NalrA deciding to go with 14 gas there, and we'll see if it's going to be a 14 or a 15 pool. In
should be
either
14
case,
pool. Yep,
yeah, it's going to be super quick as Zergling speed.
Yep. 14 gas, 14 pool. I like to call it the safest opening in ZVZ. The reason being that your economy really isn't hit too hard from it. You get Zergling speed very quick. You're safe against very early pools because you'll have your Zerglings out a little bit after theirs get there in like a 10 pool or even like a 7 pool situation, so you don't have to micro with your drones for too long. And if you want, you can expand fairly quickly after this as well. It's not going to be quite as early as it can be normally. You can see that obviously NalrA is going to be expanding a little bit later, but it doesn't hurt you all that much. There's going to be a situation where for a while NalrA is going to have Zergling speed and EG.IdrA's not, and that gives you a great opportunity to run in, check things out in their base, snipe some drones, and just kind of get back that little economic edge that you lost by getting your gas so early.
And EG.IdrA himself getting a queen, couple of lings there, reinvesting back into his economy and dropping down the extractor. So, as you mentioned, he'll be on Zergling speed quite a bit later than his opponent, but he is going to have a very good economic basis to start this game. So we'll see what NalrA is able to do to put on a bit of pressure if he's going to go ahead and expand here in a second. Nice to note, though, that he is leaving one Harvester on gas, so he will be able to morph in some defensive Banelings, go to that Roach play whenever he desires.
This is like Clatter's, that's like when I combine words, this is like classic ladder safe ZVZ.
Clatter.
Clatter. Huh. Classic ladder. You combine it, becomes clatter, right?
I like it.
So basically what you're doing here is you're getting a very safe opening and you're leaving a guy on gas. If you need to get that Baneling nest, you can. With this opening, you can sometimes skip it. I think it's always dangerous to skip a Baneling nest, but you do have the option, and at the very least, you'll have some gas for a lair a little bit later.
And looks like he does get in. He sees pretty much everything he needs to. Knew that base was coming up pretty late. The only thing he's not going to get a read on is when that Zergling speed comes out. If that queen actually hadn't gotten the last hit, it could have run away far enough that he would have been able to find out by when the lings actually turned on the jets and killed him. But that being said, EG.IdrA now does have Spinecrawler himself coming up. We'll see if he morphs in a defensive Baneling nest himself pretty soon.
You know, I feel like with this opening, too, you are under a certain amount of pressure, too, to make a round of lings and go for some early pressure, try to take advantage of the fact that you'll have ling speed a lot sooner. Now, it looks like NalrA instead is deciding to go for a fairly quick Roach Warren, too. So this could be a fairly quick Roach Ling all-in as well. It's kind of a big map to do it on, I gotta say, because you do have a long walk distance with that, but, you know, it could work conceivably, I guess. The Zerglings do get in and see everything that EG.IdrA is doing, so at least he has all the information he would want to work with.
That's right. So he does get a perfect read on EG.IdrA's base. Now, of course, as you mentioned before, he's going right over to Roaches, so we will not have the protection right away against any sort of offensive Banelings from EG.IdrA. And EG.IdrA is making his way out with a few lings at the moment as his Zergling speed is just about to finish up. Now, unfortunately, NalrA is very, very supply blocked at the moment. He only has one larva available at the moment, but he's forced to make 3 Overlords at a time. That may give EG.IdrA the time he needs to make his way in and gather the information he wants.
Okay, interesting. I was about to defend NalrA and be like, well, you know, it could be a situation where you're just saving up to make a big round of Roaches anyway, I guess, but It doesn't look like that's the case. It looks like it just was a plain old supply block. Getting his lair now, too, which is a little bit interesting. I'm not quite sure what NalrA is planning to do with this. He hasn't put down an Evo chamber yet to get any sort of upgrades. He's only made a couple defensive roaches. So I'm actually going to guess that he's going to be maybe going towards Mutalisk, although he hasn't taken 4 bases. So it could just be, you know, Ling, or rather Roach and Fester instead, I suppose. But NalrA's built a little bit outside of the norm of ZVZ. Meanwhile, IdrA looking a little bit more normal, getting that Evo Chamber, the lair, and 4 gases. So, oh, but not using all 4. Okay, maybe just getting him in there a little bit later here, too. So, yeah, things looking a little bit more normal on IdrA's side. But I'm curious to see what NalrA is going to decide with this.
That's right. So NalrA has some opportunities available here. Looks like he's going to invest in +1 missile attacks and continue making his roaches for the time being. IdrA, of course, putting down his roach warren now.
Yeah.
And when we see that infestation pit, following that up in a couple of minutes as he does invest in his upgrades, roach speed, etc.
Yeah, probably will. I mean, there's always the option to go just for a crazy amount of roaches, just roach all in. If your opponent sits on 2 bases on Ohana, that doesn't work quite as well. So yeah, I think Infestation Pit would be the better choice, especially after getting Lair. You don't want to use that for just roach speed. But, you know, we'll have to see again. You know, ZVZ, like any mirror matchup, you do kind of have to adapt on the fly. IdrA's Roach Warren finishing right about now. He's got a good amount of resources built up, too, to make some roaches.
That's right, and makes them all, so catches right back up in supply. 11 roaches coming out now.
Got to make them all.
Yeah, that's right. So he will be pretty close in overall roach count with his opponent. His upgrades are only slightly behind, but he does have a bit of an advantage in overall economy. So just really different, divergent paths to get to this point, but both players arriving at almost the exact same conclusion.
Yeah, I got to say, I kind of like the way that IdrA did it a little bit more. I feel like it kind of fits together and it kind of flows a little bit easier. NalrA's way of doing things was slightly quote-unquote safer, but again, I feel like if you get that really quick Zergling speed, you should really try to use it. You know, try to do a little bit of damage with it. Maybe that's just my own personal opinion here. Maybe it's just that I favor Zerg players like, you know, July and Leenock and the more aggressive ones too, but yeah, we'll see how it works out for him. He's moving across the map right now. He does have a slight supply lead and a slight roach lead. +1 missile is going to get finished about the same time for both of these guys, so upgrade's not going to really be a huge factor.
That's right. IdrA just waiting for some Overlords to finish up and immediately start some Roaches right afterwards. So things once again looking pretty normal for both these guys. And this is really going to come down to when NalrA is able to attack. And IdrA is going to prepare, putting those Spine Crawlers in a very nice spot so that he can go ahead and cover both of the entrances into his base. +1 attacks is finished for both of these players, though, so they're going to be fighting on relatively even terms.
Yeah, pretty much even supply, even upgrades. Very even stuff, and NalrA coming up the ramp, though. He's going to have to fight these roaches and a Spine Crawler. Yeah, NalrA definitely not going to win this fight. IdrA, some more reinforcements coming in as well. NalrA needs to make a run for it, man.
Yep, that's absolutely right. With the shorter reinforcement distance, with the exactly even upgrades, with the 2 Spine Crawlers there, IdrA just has way too much, and now his +1 Carapace is actually quite far along.
Yeah.
NalrA actually going after a Hydralisk Den after all is said and done.
Yeah, going for Hydras. Not deciding to get any more upgrades or anything like that. Hydralisks can be good in certain situations if you have an opportunity where you think you'll just be able to simply out-damage your opponent. Going for a large round of Hydralisks and then going Roach Hydra does work from time to time. A little bit of misrally with the Zerglings there, but overall, I don't know if this is going to be the right time to go Hydralisks for NalrA. We'll have to see how it works out for him, but IdrA is going for just pure Roach right now. He's just playing kind of the more defensive, I guess. Well, I got distracted by something on the minimap, but he's playing the more standard kind of just pure Roach game. And, you know, pure Roach against Roach Hydra, if you don't have upgrades, can be a little bit rough.
And looks like IdrA is going to be able to produce a fair number more of roaches and maybe move out with this. He is reestablishing his 3rd base, but of course it was denied by NalrA, who is now a little bit ahead in that category, but really we're looking at a 19-20 second difference, something like that. So not all that much farther along. He finally does have a few Hydralisks coming out, but IdrA is just overpowering with nothing but roaches, and very soon his are going to be a lot, or he's going to have a nice timing where he'll be up and upgrade over his opponent.
Yeah, he's going to be at like 50 roaches, but like you said, NalrA will have that +1 that will be a little bit ahead of what IDRA has. But the question is, will it be enough? IDRA attacking right now, attacking from multiple fronts, but will this be a good decision for IDRA? He does have +1 carapace, which gives him a slight advantage.
This is exactly what I talked about. This is the perfect time for him to attack because he does have that upgrade advantage going through this, and now he's completely surrounded NalrA's forces. NalrA is reinforcing pretty well. He does have the shorter reinforcement distance. Even with that, and even with IDRA not being able to attack everything at once, he did kill quite a bit. Now backing up, though, as he has his own +2 attacks on the way, reinforcing with yet more roaches through the middle of the map. After all is said and done, still finds himself with a roach advantage.
IDRA adding on his own Hydralisk 10. All right, so he's going to go for it as well, just plain old high DPS army positioning. And this is kind of fun. I love watching StarCraft 2 when it ends up like this because it feels a little bit more like what I've seen in StarCraft 1, where it's less spell casting and more just good unit positioning. This is more of a skill of a player's tactical mind rather than their ability to, you know, cast spells accurately and things like that. So this is kind of a unique look at ZVZ that we don't get a lot. You know, usually we have at least one player going for infestors. So both players going Roach Hydra should be cool. I'm excited.
I love the contamination. So underused in ZVZ.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he stopped that that additional larvae from popping out for a good period of time. Had there been any upgrades on it, he would have put a good stop to those as well. So very happy to see that IDrA used that that spell as we went along.
There was a certain incident in the GSL a year or two ago where IDrA lost due to a crazy high contamination build from OGS Xenio at the time. And I think if you lose to something like that, you're not going to forget the usefulness of corruption anytime soon. So yeah, it's good to see IDrA do that. And wow, snipes a queen.
IDrA actually had the smartest move a second ago. He sent up a vast majority of his forces on the right-hand side here, and backed up a little bit, pulled NalrA out, and ran in with 6 roaches into the main, killed a queen and about 4 or 5 drones there, and got all the scouting information he could ever hope for.
Yeah.
So that was really clever and really well done by IDrA.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what I was talking about. I mean, the tactical mind, right? You don't need to worry about things like spell casting and getting your units that do that in the right spot and all that. You can just try to move your army around and fake out your opponent. So really cool stuff. I love seeing that. I'm not saying you can't do that, you know, if you do get infestors and stuff, but it's a little bit easier to do it when they don't have them.
So now both players are on 3 bases, and looks like the economies are kind of similar. 8 worker advantage now for NalrA. Both players are about maxed out, though, so IDrA will be able to put a little bit more into his army. He is still sitting on a 1 upgrade advantage, his 1-2 versus his opponent 0-2, so that carapace could come in handy.
That's dangerous.
Has to make sure he doesn't get these forces caught off. Is he going to use it as a way to get into position and engage? It looks like he is,
maybe.
But he's not attacking with all of his forces at the same time.
Yeah, I think he just tried to sneak those up to see if he could do some damage at the 3rd, but it didn't quite end up working out. And IDrA trying to get into that good position. He does have a nice concave. Lots of Hydralisks for IDrA as well. What's the unit count right now for both players?
It's basically even on roaches and basically even on Hydralisk as well.
Wow.
But here I think we're going to see the power of that +1 carapace over his opponent now.
I think so.
As we can see NalrA's forces starting to dwindle quite a bit and gets crushed. He's down by 8 Hydralisks and down by 17 roaches at the end of that. The power of the +1 carapace upgrade.
Yeah, IDrA knows that he needs to go right now. Oh yeah, the positioning too. He got a great concave, but he needs to kind of form up and then go after his opponent immediately. There's going to be a reinforcements, yeah, but he has a chance right now to be able to do some damage. We'll see if he decides to take it. He's still 20 supply ahead.
That's right, and he's also picked off a few overlords as he's moved up as well. And that's actually pretty important because it's going to give his opponent a lot less of an ability to be able to reinforce in crunch time here, or force him to spend those precious larvae and turn them into overlords.
Yeah. Well, looks like IDrA will decide to kind of bide his time. NalrA going for the Baneling Nest. An interesting choice, too, because the idea behind that is to go after your opponent's Hydralisks with them. They do pretty well against Hydras, so, I mean, that's why you see players getting it once in a while. But odd choice to get it at this point in the game. Definitely going to be something that IDra's maybe not expecting, but it's going to be a lot of gas used that NalrA might be better off putting towards infestors or more Hydras possibly.
And IDrA just finishes up +2 carapace, so that is a big advantage for him. Now he's up by 2 workers, or I'm sorry, up by 2 upgrades.
Here we go.
He's going to be able to move his way in. The Banelings are trying to morph in at the moment, but I don't know if they're going to be able to do all that much damage.
I don't think they're going to. The Banelings crashing against the Roach line, not doing a lot at all, and IDrA, I think, is going to take this game handily.
That's right. So NalrA now down to just 80 supply and falling. There's a GG. Evil Genius has taken 2 games in a row. IDrA with his 2nd win in a row.
Wow, really well played by IdrA yet again. I mean,